Chapter 1. The Last Case. The rain poured down, and every drop that hit the wet pavement felt like another blow to Arkady's tired soul. He had been a detective for 30 years. 30 years he had seen the worst the city had to offer. The next morning was his last day. Retirement, quiet, and maybe fishing. But before he could leave, he had to finish one last, very strange case. His client, an old woman in expensive but faded clothes, sat across from him. She was the wife of the missing writer, Ilya Volkov. His books, dark and cruel, were known all over the world. Volkov was a master of psychological thrillers, where the line between real and fiction became blurry. Now, he himself had disappeared, like a person from one of his own novels. "He just vanished, Detective, without a trace," she said in a shaking voice. Her hands were holding a small handkerchief. "Last night he was in his study, writing. In the morning he was not there. The computer was on, a manuscript was on the table. He never left his work unfinished." Arkady took the address and went to the writer's house. It was an old building in the city center, with a heavy wooden door and tall windows. Inside, everything was too neat. Books were in straight lines on the shelves, each one in alphabetic order. The table was clean, and even the dust seemed placed on purpose to make it look like a creative mess. Arkady felt at once that something was wrong. A real artist's workspace is never so perfect. There are always signs of life, a mess that has its own order. Here, there was nothing to show a quick disappearance. No turned-over cup, no papers on the floor. Nothing. He went into the study. On the table, under a lamp, lay an open laptop. On the screen was an unfinished text. Arkady looked through it. The main person was a professional detective who was about to retire. His name was Arkady. In the story, this detective takes on his last case to find a missing writer. And now he must find the writer's wife. With every new sentence, Arkady's blood ran cold. The descriptions were so exact that he began to see himself in every line. Arkady, with his gray, tired eyes and a heavy walk that seemed to always be behind his thoughts. It was hard to believe. Arkady closed the laptop. It felt too much like a joke, but he was sure it was not. He took the manuscript from the table. The title? The Last Case. Everything matched. He could not believe his eyes. This writer, Volkov, seemed to have looked into his soul, and now he was writing about him. And what was even more strange, he was writing about him in the present time. When he went to leave, he saw an old mirror in the hallway. In it, he saw not his own reflection, but himself, but with a different haircut and different clothes. He touched his head. His hair was in place. He looked at his clothes. They were the same as always. But in the mirror, everything was different. Then Arkady understood that he was not just reading someone else's book. He had become a part of it. And somewhere in this world, there was a writer who was writing his story, not letting him write his own end.